Alright, new vlog. I got my video uploading for my first Happy Wheels playthrough. Sadly, something happened, and at the last the game crashed, and so it might have got a little slow. I have to cut out certain parts of it. There's just silence, hoping that it would come back. It didn't, though. So I'm going to upload a part 2 sometime soon, hopefully with better video quality. Second of all, new hairstyle, check it. It's called a faux hawk.
Robert Bever posted a number of videos to YouTube under the name Cult Empire Official. He talked about Minecraft, about Happy Wheels, and also made a short film starring himself and his brother Michael at home together. The two boys were part of a large family with 7 children. All the children were homeschooled, and the neighbours mentioned how they never mixed with the neighbourhood children. April Bever, the boy's mother, went under the name Aoki Mom on Reddit and posted many items, including the following.
A 4,700 square foot house, 2 newer cars, and my kids do not do without. There are childless people that do not have this. Life is about making good job or income choices, and then making the best money choices based on your income. I would never give up having any of my children so I could have more money. They are amazing people and the world will benefit by having them in it. And nothing I could buy or invest in could compare to giving a person a chance to have a life.
Broken Arrow 911. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, where are you at?
Broken Arrow, Oklahoma 7411.
What address?
709 Magnolia Court.
Okay. Are you the only one there?
No, my brother's attacking my family.
Your dad is attacking your family?
No, my brother. He has an idea stealing me. Oh, millions of people out.
Okay, who's attacking your family?
What?
Who's attacking your family?
Yes.
Who is it? Do they have...
I'll call them.
Are you there?
Hello?
Hi, what's going on there? What's going on there? Hello? Hello?
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. If you feel that you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your...
On the 22nd of July 2015 at 11:30 p.m, this 911 call was made by 12-year-old Daniel Bever. The upheaval heard in the background on the call alerted 911, and after finding themselves unable to contact the head of the family, David Bever, by phone, police attended the family home at 709 Magnolia Court, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. On entering the property, the officers found Crystal Bevers, who was critically wounded but survived the attack. However, other than her 2-year-old sister, Autumn Bever, sleeping in a room, the rest of the family were dead. April Bever, their mother, was killed by blunt force trauma and at least 48 stab wounds to the head, neck, torso, arms and hands. Daniel Bever, the 12-year-old son who made the 911 call, was killed by 9 stab wounds to the back, shoulder and chest. Christopher Bever, 7 years old, also a son, killed by 6 stab wounds to the back, chest, shoulder and lower leg. And Victoria Bever, who was 5 years old, was killed by 18 stab wounds to both sides of the neck, her chest, back and upper arm. David Bever, the father of the family, was killed by 28 stab wounds to the torso, face, neck and left arm and hand. Crystal had endured slit throat and stab wounds to the stomach and arms.
Police arrive to investigate. They see two young men running out of the back door of the home. Canines soon track down 18-year-old Robert Bever and his 16-year-old brother in the woods behind the home. Inside, horror. 5 members of the brothers' family found stabbed to death. Their parents, David and April Bever, their 12 and 17-year-old brothers, and their 5-year-old sister. 2 siblings survived the rampage. A 13-year-old sister is in the hospital tonight, and the family's baby, a 2-year-old girl, the only one left unhurt.
Robert immediately admitted to the crimes, seeking the notoriety that comes with a body count. Michael, however, under interrogation, claimed that he only helped to kill one person, that he didn't kill anybody.
I learned tonight that I didn't.
Okay, that you didn't want to do it?
I don't want to do it. I didn't, just because I didn't kill anyone.
Okay.
I stabbed someone.
Who did you stab?
My younger brother, Christopher.
Christopher? How old's Christopher?
9, I think.
What'd you stab him with?
My knife.
What's your knife look like?
It's green, kind of like camouflage, honestly, like.
On where your hand goes or where the blade is? It's camouflage?
Yeah, it's all camouflage.
Oh, the whole thing?
Yeah.
How big is it? Show me how big it is.
I think it's about this big.
Okay. So what was Christopher doing when you stabbed him?
He was laying on the bathroom floor. Robert was also stabbing him. Robert asked me to go over and help him. So I stabbed Christopher and then...
Where did you stab him?
Side of the neck.
Really? Okay. You okay?
Yeah.
You okay? Let me know if you need a break or anything, okay?
I'm good.
So was Christopher still alive when you stabbed him?
Yes.
What was he saying and doing?
He was just screaming.
Screaming. Did you say he was in the bathroom?
Yeah, I was next to the toilet, with that bathroom.
Who else was in the bathroom?
I think Victoria might have been in there. About
Victoria?
Yeah, my 4-year-old sister.
When asked why he and Robert wanted to kill, Michael expresses that they looked up to people such as the Columbine shooters and James Holmes.
So, you know.
Why did he want to do it?
To kill people?
Yeah.
Well, mainly 2 reasons, I think. It's because he just, he says he hates everyone. He thinks society is pointless, and so he wanted to kill people. And also he wanted to, beat the kill, amount of other famous people like Columbine and James Egan Holmes.
Okay. Did you kind of feel that way too, when you guys were talking earlier,
Yeah.
do you have a problem with society too, do you think?
No, I just...
Or you were just more like the number of people getting killed was kind of interesting and exciting?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because you mentioned a couple names are those serial killers or something?
What, Columbine?
Yeah.
Columbine and James Egan Holmes. James Egan Holmes is a guy that shot at the theater.
In Colorado?
Yeah, he killed 12 and...
Wow. How many were killed in Columbine?
Columbine? I don't know, 15,
okay.
I think.
So did you guys have a goal? Did you have a number?
He just wanted, I think he wanted to kill 50.
Okay.
So Michael and Robert had sought a body count of about 50. Despite this, Michael's attorneys later fought to have him not be tried as an adult. This appeal failed and he was tried as an adult. Robert received a life sentence without possibility of parole, and Michael received a life sentence with the possibility of parole. During this interview, as you've seen, Michael insists that he only stabbed his brother in the neck. Only. And we'll leave that one there. However, it was found that there was some blood of his mother's on his hand, on the weapon that he used, so it didn't make much sense. I mean, come on. They killed their parents together? They must have done, because otherwise one of the parents would have tried to stop them.
did you, because here's what I'm seeing happen. You know, you guys had all these detailed plans, you had all the cool stuff to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it kind of started falling apart, and you said like it didn't go as planned. I mean, did you kind of just freak out a little bit, like,
Yeah,
this really happening?
Well, I didn't know it was going to, like...
Yeah, you don't. But here's what's getting me is like, it's crazy because you guys worked together and made all these plans and, you know, had it all figured out, and then when it happens, you're just kind of standing there not doing anything. And did you decide like, Robert's gonna kill everybody and I'm gonna stand here and do nothing, so I better, I mean, did you, is
yeah,
that...
I think that was my plan. I didn't want to kill anyone, I couldn't do it, so I was going to let him, like, kill everyone.
Yeah, but you stabbed somebody in the neck. I mean...
I just kind of...
Well, what I'm saying is it's not Robert's the one that should get all the credit here.
Yeah.
Because it's a big deal. I mean, you're gonna be on the news. You know what I mean?
People are gonna want to interview you.
I don't want to be interviewed this.
Michael was given access to a journal in jail and made some drawings. They seem contradictory to his performance in the interrogation room. So how does this happen? How do two young boys doing young boy things turn into murderers? Please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. I will revisit the case. And their story may not be over.
New at noon, records show a Broken Arrow man serving life in prison for killing 5 family members tried attacking 2 staff members at Joseph Harp Correctional Center. The incident report says that Robert Bever approached a psychological clinician and social services specialist from behind with a sharpened instrument. The social services specialist put Bever in a bear hug and took the weapon away from him. No one was seriously hurt. Bever is serving life in prison for stabbing 5 family members to death in 2015 and trying to kill his sister. His younger brother, Michael, was also sentenced to life for his part in those killings.
Research on this case, it's something that's always interested her from, when she's first heard about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick myself on mute for a while, and I'm going to let Evie talk because she's got lots to say about these two young people and what you've seen. So I will interject if you need me, Evie. I'm right here.
Okay.
I'm on mute, and I'm going to let you talk about what you found out about the case.
One thing that, well, you can say from the police interrogation that Michael is pretty emotionless. He's it's only 8 hours after the killings, and he basically talks matter of fact. And also a lot of people have noticed that Michael, you have a hard job understanding Michael. So I think there was, I think he may have had a speech impediment and he may have been bullied.
Right.
But of course, both older boys were taken out of school. All the kids were homeschooled, and the parents it wasn't just the parents keeping an eye on their children, they had surveillance on the children 24 hours a day.
Well, they weren't just...
They had cameras everywhere.
Oh.
Especially David, the dad, and the dad would sit back in his office and just watch. And I think that sounds like some kind of twisted experiment.
That's not normal. That's
no.
Not normal. Watch it. All right, keep an eye on them, make sure they're safe. But
yeah,
don't be like watching them. That's really creepy, actually.
Yeah, the cameras were everywhere, and then of course the 2 boys picked up on that because in the planning going up to the killings, they had put cameras in certain places to to videotape the killings, so that they would probably release that, and they were on a disc. So, and their plan was also to dismember the family as well, before they went on this bigger killing spree to,
Yes, to gain notoriety,
to be famous and get the numbers up, as Michael kind of says in the interrogation. Crystal, the surviving girl, she had a throat slit, and a lot of people say, "Oh, Michael seems so quite calm and quite nice especially compared to Robert. Robert is quite crazed looking."
Yes.
Even in his YouTube videos, he was trying to be cool and be. He wasn't though. No. And he was just he was gone, and I think he's been diagnosed with schizophrenia and a lot of other things. But a lot of people felt sorry for Michael, and even the jurors in the trial sent a letter to the judge, saying, we think Michael should be let out one day. And he got life with the possibility of parole, and I don't think he should ever be let out, because twice he led his brothers and sisters to an ambush. Yes. Deliberately. He tricked them. He said that Robert would kill him, so let me in the bathroom or wherever it was, and that was just to let Robert in, so Robert could do what he wanted. Also, Michael will just say in the interrogation, he'll say, "Yeah, but I stabbed Christopher," or whatever. But if you look at how many stab wounds all the family had, it was absolutely horrendous. I think April, the mum, got the worst. Blunt force trauma and 48 wounds to the head, neck, torso, arms.
Yes, they were very angry. That's real overkill, isn't it?
It was, yes.
Real overkill. And what's your theory on, Michael claiming, "I didn't kill Mother, he killed Mother"? Because as I said in the video, I didn't buy that story. I think
no. Yeah, I agree with you as well. There was one thing, and Crystal, the surviving daughter, she provided a lot of information, because all the children were underfed.
Wow.
And apart from this constant surveillance and everything, both the mother and father would lock themselves in their offices for days on end and just let the kids,
So, contrary to a Reddit post claiming that our children didn't need for anything, that actually they were needing for food.
And apparently they lived on just packet noodles most of the time, and they were undernourished and underfed. And there was locks on every doors, or So, and Crystal,
what do we know about why were they acting like this? Is there anything that you found about why they were acting like that? What the influence was?
Well, Crystal said there were. Crystal, that's the surviving daughter, said all the children were physically and verbally abused, but the dad, David, was paranoid.
Right.
And the mother as well. They would sit around. When they did talk, they would talk about all the people that they hated every day.
Right.
And they would say that the apocalypse would come. This is where a bit of cult behaviour comes in. And not only, they didn't just admire James Holmes and Eric Harrison, Dylan from the Columbine massacre, they also loved Jim Jones.
Yes, they drew a picture of Jim Jones.
Yeah. And they thought that when the apocalypse would come, it would only take the people that they hated out.
Right. Yes, because that's how it works.
But but all they heard most days was from the mother and father was that the world was pointless and they hated everybody. The mother and father were, they told them not to tell anybody the name. They weren't allowed to mix with any other children. And Robert basically schooled Michael. So that's how some of the jurors thought that Robert coerced Michael. But Michael twice, he tricked his brothers and sisters twice. And he was, he wanted the fame. He wanted the high kill count, as it were. And yeah, but this killing spree as well, and they were obsessed with that. They talked about it almost every night for about 2 years, and there was a lot of planning going into it. And of course, all the ammunition that they'd got off eBay and what have you was supposed to come the next day. And they'd worked out that guns would be far too noisy, so that's why they decided on the knives.
Right.
And they both had built up quite a few knives. And there's in interrogation, the only term of endearment that Michael states is towards a knife. He calls this knife adorable.
Wow. So
But he doesn't. Yeah, he's got no connection at all. No. There's nothing there for his brothers and sisters or his mother and father at all. But this knife is called adorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's worrying.
And what was I going to say? Something I come across. They did order 3,000 rounds of ammunition. And I think they only forgot the 2-year-old in the crib because the neighbour started knocking on the door because I think it was Christopher who did the 911 call. So they kind of run out of time, but supposedly they wanted to use the machete on the 2-year-old.
Sorry, it was Daniel who rang the police.
Daniel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they must have heard a fuss because there was fuss and shouting going on during the call, so the neighbours are going to have heard that.
Yeah, but the whole family were in total isolation all the time, no schooling. And also when April chose what website they would learn off, and it was usually like religious or very violent websites. So that was their schooling.
Like extremist.
You can see in the drawings as well, it's very childlike.
Yeah, the drawings, that's not a child that's coloured in much or drawn much.
No.
They haven't got the skills that even children who are average drawers at that age could
exactly.
Realistic. So I mean, the isolation, I know that the general causes like problems with isolation don't really play that much into the situation, because looking them up, I did find that most of the causes of issues with mental health and isolation in children was like loneliness. Now that doesn't really play into these guys because they had each other.
They had each other. They shared a bedroom, but I think probably a lot of the time it was a bit of a load of the flies, especially when the mother and father would go and lock themselves in the office for days. I'm sure they were watching them on the cameras.
Or just like left unchecked, weren't they?
Left unchecked.
Cherry Pepsi Max.
But Michael and Robert did the same thing because they become obsessed with cameras and
because children, what do children do? They learn from what they see.
Learn, yeah. And also the hate, that constant. We hate all these people. The world is pointless, and
the world's going to end anyway. So why wouldn't you kill people? Because it doesn't matter. You're going to have it to pay for, and when the world does end, all the people you hate to be taken away, but you would be just fine.
And that need because they felt like because they had all this hate and isolation, which doesn't. I think I think there was some serious mental health throughout the family history as well. So they were cut off from all the family as well. And that one of the first policemen to talk to Michael said he was emotionless. There was just a nothingness, and that was just hours after.
Yeah, you can see that when that was, like you said, that was only 8 hours afterwards, and he's just kind of really nonchalant.
Yeah.
Like you'd think he would be mortified or at least in shock. He doesn't even appear to be in shock, does he? The reaction's just very matter of fact. And for me, I would concur with you, is that makes him a bit more scary than his brother, because his brother was not very well, I don't think at all.
Robert laughed throughout a lot of the trial, and Michael tried to be this quiet, meek, little brother who was coerced into everything. But I think he's a lot more devious and
I think
psychopathic.
To do that, I think there was something in the interview, the longer one that I watched. It said, I'll take the blame.
Yes.
I'll take the blame. You told it was me, and that's exactly what he did.
Because a lot of people said the brothers had different motives and intent. I don't think so.
I don't see the different motives.
I don't see those, and they actually work pretty well, especially Michael with tricking his brothers and sisters, which that to me is the worst. That was
particularly callous, isn't it?
Yeah, and that actually is one of the things on the teenage psychopath list as well, checklist, and you can check Michael for all of those as well. And the psychological issues, environmental issues, there's so much variables in this as well that make it so fascinating. And also when that detective, I think it's towards the end of the interrogation, he asked Michael, what do you think? And Michael says it's all pointless. But
I think that's the point. No, that's what they were taught, isn't it? They were taught it was
that's
all
what they were taught. Yeah.
And also that's what it's all pointless. Nothing really matters.
No, and the only thing that they wanted was to get because of the way they set the cameras up for the killing as well. They wanted to get that out and be famous and be like their heroes.
And what a strange environment to be in, where those people are your heroes.
Exactly.
People like Jim Jones and the college. There's a sense of entitlement as well, and I wonder if that comes from the because I've often thought that Columbine was based on entitlement. Yes. We all know, particularly Eric Harris was a particularly unpleasant person.
Yeah.
And we know this from his diary, from reading his diary.
His journal.
Like how he thinks so contemptuously about other people.
Yes, yeah.
And I feel from that grows a sense of entitlement, and I feel that's a cause of a lot of school shootings and young people's murders. They think they're entitled to things.
Yeah.
However, in this case, these boys were entitled to a safe upbringing, but their parents' sense of entitlement, like they're better than these other people. When the rapture comes, we'll be saved because we're better than they are.
Yes, exactly.
But they'll all die. We'll be saved though, because that sense of superiority is what makes you think it's all right to do things to other people. And unfortunately for the family, it fell on them that first of all, because it was a bit of a throwback to Silence of the Lambs, and I'm going to use the example because it's true. Where do we first start to do something?
Yes.
When he says, where do we first start to covet? Do we seek out things to covet? No, we don't. We'll cover the things we see every day. So, and that's what happened. It was their family, the only thing they had direct contact with, that was killed.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It was some of the checklist as well, which for especially for white teenage males that kill the family, dishonest charm, grandiosity, which Robert tried to do, and he's, and that's what they were planning to do, try to go from town to town, and maybe kill, so many people at a time.
Yeah, they planted to do like random shootings.
Yeah, yeah. Delusional thinking. Callousness, no empathy, no remorse, thrill seeking.
Yeah, they're all there that engaged in risky behaviour as well, like buying the guns, all of that, you know, killing their own family on their own doorstep and then still thinking they were going to get away clear to commit more murder. You know, that kind of thing. And tragically, they had lots of targets available to them right where they were.
Yeah,
if it didn't for that family, that would have been a lot different. But unfortunately, she had a lot of children.
I was also when I was thinking last night, I thought, you know, Robert and Michael, they were close in age, they shared the room. So I was thinking, is there a bit of a folly here?
Yes.
With the, you know, the madness of the two. So
very possible. If I'm assuming a lot of people here will know what a folie à deux is. But it's quite a common thing. It often happens in cases like, I believe, like sort of Ian Brady and Myra Hindley.
Yeah, when two people just
share the same delusion, share the same perspective on life, and most of the time people can do this and it's perfectly fine. It's just something they both believe that's wrong.
Yeah.
And it does no harm.
Yeah.
But in situations like this, obviously, that becomes so much more dangerous because bad then compounds bad.
Kind of like a perfect storm.
In the case of like Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, Ian had these terrible beliefs. He was, you know, pro-Nazi, again with a sense of superiority, all of those traits that Evie's just mentioned for the psychopaths, where grandiosity, you know, I'm better than other people. And because Myra adored him, she believed everything he said, and therefore it becomes a folie à deux because they both believe what he said. So that's no influence over really Myra. That's no excuse. That's no get out clause for her because she still knew what she was doing and what she was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
But she believed it when he believed it. They did it together.
I think because nobody knew these boys and nobody know their name, and they were, you know, so all that hatred and this desire to be famous and to be, you know, to be on, like the detective says, oh, did you want, you know, did you think about getting your film of the week or your TV shows? And I think Michael said, yes. And I know Robert kept a journal, but he definitely wanted the police to know about the disc or the hard drive, which I think shows the killings. I think.
Yeah, obviously that's it'll never again see the light of day. Thankfully.
Yeah, I think the journals went missing actually as well.
It could be somebody who was interested has taken them and they'll resurface in the years to come. But the case wasn't actually as notorious as it should have been for what it was.
And then Broken Arrow in Oklahoma, it was. I mean, I saw some of the videos on like you know, to attract people to live there and stuff.
Yes.
And it was saying about it had the small town feel, but with everything that the big city could provide as well. But nobody knew their names until this.
Yeah.
Neighbors noticed how strange they could appear and how isolated they were, but nobody knew the name.
Well, yeah, you don't like to interfere, do you? You don't like to say, and how could you possibly know that this was going to happen because that isolated, and that's the shame with isolation. I mean, with a child in isolation, like anybody who's had, I don't know if anybody's ever encountered an animal, say for instance a dog who's not been socialized properly.
Yeah.
And then you have to adopt that dog, and the dog will snack at people and bark and have that savage streak because they're frightened because they don't know how to respond to other people. And these boys had none of that at all. They had no socialization, only within their own little group, which was telling them all these horrible messages. Now, this does not justify what they did
No.
at all.
No.
It does help us understand how this came to be, how this tragedy happened, because that's usually the first question: is why? Why would two young boys kill their family?
There's a lot of young adolescent killers, and usually some of the signs are there's a neurological disconnect, and also, it's mental conditions that make somebody vulnerable to things that glorify violence and all these things, and that's how they get a kick out of seeing the violence and stuff, and
Yeah.
well, they have fantasies of, it's a bit like the Columbine, especially was it Eric or was it Dylan whose journal was the worst?
It was Eric.
Yeah.
Eric, without a shadow of a doubt.
The violence in that journal was just horrific. It was horrific.
And the weird thing is, when you watch the footage of them when they were making that documentary, Eric and Dylan, a lot of what Eric says is actually reflected from his diary, but he says it in a different way that sounds quite casual.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, his friend says something, he says, "Well, I don't like a lot of people,"
Yeah.
and he doesn't like anybody really.
Yeah, that's like these two young boys. That's like their parents as well. David and April were the same. And they kind of instilled that into the two older boys.
Scary, isn't it? When you think about No Wonder, really, that's what I was saying to you yesterday. So
their development was definitely stunted. It was.
Well, if they've not, generally they've been homeschooled, but they haven't actually been homeschooled.
They haven't. Well, they weren't. There wasn't homeschooled.
And spied on. So they've got no privacy, but enough privacy to browse random things on the web and to make nefarious schemes. So I'm assuming that cameras didn't have microphones. So that means is do things that teenage boys would do to relieve stress. They can't do that either.
Well, I think the dad used to watch all the surveillance cameras he had, but then he used to go to the children and pick out all the things that he didn't like that they'd done and show them.
That's terrible. So growing up as a young person, when you learn about your own body and things that you've got no ability to do any of that because you're being watched by your dad.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's normal for young boys to do particular things, and a lot. Let's not lie. And for them not to be able to have that bit of privacy to do those things, it just doesn't. Like, how can you even expect them to turn out even in the least bit normal?
Yeah.
Poor kids.
Well, somebody had said that, but they were trying to defend Michael, that he grew up in total isolation and his role model was his psychopathic brother. But it was.
I grew up in isolation as well.
Exactly. It wasn't. It's
you could use the same argument for both kids. Just because one is slightly older than the other and one has a mental illness, even that gives him even less capacity to make his own decisions.
It was like, I think I saw somebody the other day say, oh, that boy was only 8 years old. He couldn't have possibly committed, murder. That's wrong.
Yeah, people will frequently say that. Oh, well, I would never have thought they could possibly have done. Well, I've got news. Everybody's capable of it.
And even children.
Yes.
So we know that. Yeah.
Everybody can do it. It's just a case of whether they will or not. And sometimes you have a set of circumstances like these where it's like a little boiling pot.
Yeah, totally. That's what I wrote on the last. That's what I scribbled on the last page of my book.
If you're looking at the case review, you've got a history of mental illness in the family. You have a cult mentality.
Yeah.
You have a basic degradation of other human beings because they're less worthy than you are. A website that encourages sort of militia mentality and very strict religious beliefs.
So
No privacy and being criticised for things you've done that your father has been observing on camera, because that's completely normal. Not being nourished properly and being under socialised.
yes, yeah.
Completely or utterly under socialised. So when you look at all of those factors, it's kind of like, what else do you want? What more would people expect to be happening?
That's why I keep thinking, why did the parents keep going into their offices and locking themselves away for days? And I keep thinking, I think they were spying on the kids and, you know, taking some pleasure in the chaos.
Yeah, maybe it's like a little social experiment, like watching them go wild and just watching what they do and then later criticising them for it.
Yes,
It's possible, but that's extremely twisted. But
isn't it? Yeah.
It does lend more. I've got no justification for the boys
No.
to any of their siblings. Not one of them.
Me neither.
Parents, you know, you can understand how they would feel that way, but the siblings, I don't understand. I can't get my head round.
No. Yeah, that's it. The brothers and sisters. That's yeah.
They were in the same horrible situation as them. And that's where it went wrong for me. That's where like the kind of the sympathy goes. I can understand it, but I can't have any sympathy for them because, like I said, Michael lured his siblings into a trap.
I've got no sympathy for them. No.
No, that's it might have had if they hadn't hurt their siblings. If they maybe killed their parents and then they'd let their siblings out.
It's just interesting that looking at all the different things that, you know, were going on.
I think we understand how that happened. I think I understand a lot better because of what you said. Because you do think, why on earth do these things happen? And sometimes things aren't explainable.
No, you can't. There's no explanation.
What on earth did you do that for? You know, there was no reason for you to do that. There are much easier ways that don't involve killing people, and that happens in the vast majority of murder cases.
Yeah,
it's not justifiable. This is why we get so annoyed with the murderer, because we think there's so many easier ways to deal with this. Why was murder the option that you chose? Why did you snuff somebody else's life out? It didn't make any sense.
Like people say, people will make up a justification, but there is none, and there's no. You just have to say that happened.
Yeah. And I think because we struggle to get our heads around it, that's where you get these sort of big conspiracy theories coming out.
Yeah, that's when they pop up, because people like to try and make sense of it.
And I think that's what it is. It's because we can't quite believe somebody could be that shitty. So yeah, you want to try and make excuses for them.
It's like Paris Bennett. What year was it? He was 13 when he killed his sister, stabbed his sister, and he did it out of spite towards his mother.
Yeah.
And he's a proper psychopath. But even on the emergency call, he pretended he was crying. He pretended he was doing CPR. He acted perfectly, and it was all a lie. It was just. And he is a very.
Name of that guy who was playing online games with that kid and lured him to his house. I forget his name.
Who's that?
I know I can see his face. It was the murder of Brett Bednar.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was Lewis Danes. And he phoned up and he acted like when he made the phone call, the 911 call, he sounds just so, you know, there's been a murder. I killed him by accident.
Well, it's Paris Bennett, but it sounded really good because it sounded as though he was sobbing, and then it sounded as though he was doing CPR, and it was all fake. It was all a lie.
See if I can find the call.
Good actor.
I know it's terrifying when you realise what they've actually done. You say it was Paris Bennett.
Paris Bennett, yeah. there's a good documentary because his mother still talks to him, but his mother knows that if he gets out, I think she's got another little girl now, and so he would probably go after the little girl.
Right, let's have a look. I've got an inside edition. Bear with us a second. Just going to share the screen so people can hear the call that you're referring to.
Paris Bennett scares the crap out of me, to be honest with you.
And it happened. Paris stabbed Ella 17 times with a
17 times.
Killed somebody. You think you killed somebody? I know I did.
Hang on.
Remember, that's him. That's him. Older. He was only 12 or something.
Good grief! He accidentally killed somebody by stabbing them 17 times. Sure, you know this story's never going to sell, is it? You know.
I feel so messed up. Is she bleeding right now? No. Is she bleeding anywhere? Yes, she's bleeding all over the bed. Because I stabbed her.
When the autopsy came back, I found out that, Ella had been stabbed 17 times.
Oh, bless her little heart, man. Look at her.
No.
That's them together, isn't it?
But his grandmother, I think she is like him. And his grandmother started sending him really, comics, really dark comics, with a lot of, extreme violence in them.
Right. Oh God.
I think the grandmother killed one of her husbands, and the policeman remembers, I think, the grandmother crying in the back of the police car, and then all of a sudden she switched off and started laughing.
Well, that's not something a grandma buys. What's wrong with a big bar of dairy milk and a fiver in your Christmas card? That's what my grandma used to give me. And I never got anything violent.
But yeah, there's some interesting a few documentaries on Paris Bennett that are.
Okay, so maybe if the guys want to could cover.
Interesting, disturbing.
That's what White Tiger makes a good point. You don't accidentally do anything 17 times.
No.
No, no, you don't. It'd be like, oh, sorry, accident.
I think the beginning of the phone call, I don't know whether he said that he had a bad dream and he thought it was a monster or something like that. I'm not sure.